Evening times, sometimes just so sick, seems wrong. So what? It's just not into this new day. Was in the now, feels so that one just got supplies in them. Something like just a program. Sonic waves, raise the days, the sunlight, things to be alive. Artist, was I still surviving the outcome? So, uh, so what? Shit. Straps like you. Shit. As I show like they should want to get some of my stuff. So get strong, take example. Something position, take a train. Position on the sense of decision, but just for if strong from seems what I have so the Lord was love was what I just show let me show you things.
That's right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ain't That Right? I'm your host, Duncan Hat, here on SR 1029 The Game.com, the Coastal Sports Digital Network. Live from Studio DD, we're repping our Phillies, even though the Phillies, I don't know what's going on. Lost a total of, I think, 3 series at home last year. They've already lost 3 in the month of April. Not good, but, everyone has to pay their dues at some point. Hopefully, these guys get it figured out. And I came into today, and I know yesterday is the synonymous day that runs concurrent every single time with all of the right? It was tax day. So, Dunk, you're not going to tell me that taxes and the idea of tax day is something you could put into the 3Ds with DD. And I'm like, well, yeah, it could be 3Gs with DD. Sure, it can. How do you do that? Right? Well, I mean, you got growth, grace, giving back, tax day edition, right? So we took a little time. We were like, let's see if we can break this down. But let's see if we can really turn this into something that isn't so much of a chore, isn't so much of a here we go again. And they've made it easy now. There's Tober Tax Services, there's H&R Blocks, there's Liberty. There's all these places out there that'll take your money, do your taxes, a little bit off the top of what you're going to get back. But it becomes a day, whether we like it or not, because we either put too much in, we have too much taken out, we don't have enough in, we don't have enough taken out. And that just leads into our conversation of accountability, right? Accountability on both sides, not just the accountability that you've got to do your part, right? There is the other side to the coin. And when we think about daily lives and relationships, our own self growth, our own personal development, it's like, oh, wait a minute. We do have to be accountable. We have to have a tax day for ourselves. Some people pay taxes every day. Some people pay taxes week. Some people have decisions that they make that aren't good. And believe me, there's consequences for it. They pay taxes. But it's about stewardship as well. It's about leaving a legacy. It's about building and growing and evolving. So when we think about tax day, and you're like, oh, here we go again. It's not a chore, right? It's the mirror that we're actually looking into. It's a moment of truth. It's a checkpoint. Who are we? What have we built? What am I putting in? What am I showing up for? What am I not showing up for? Where do I need to give more within my community? Where I need to give more within myself? Where am I lacking? Or where do I have a surplus? Right? So, yeah, okay, I've done, above and beyond the standard here. And it's yielded this particular outcome, this particular result. So, I want to keep investing in that. I want to keep doing more. It's not strictly about what you earn. You can earn respect. You can earn a bad reputation. You can earn position. You can earn promotion. But what have you learned on that process, right? The tax day. It's when we take inventory, because we do this a lot. I've seen you think about it, 3, 4 times a year. But specifically, you should have a day, if not 2 days, in your year where you have your own personal AP, AR, red and black, sit down, let's let's pay my taxes, or let's get my refund. You're taking inventory of your progress. You're looking at your wins and your losses. I missed on this over here. How come I missed? Where was I allocating resources that I probably shouldn't have been allocating resources to? But I'm going to own it because these circumstances, this environment, this amount of training, lack of training, educate, whatever it is, they helped shape your win and your loss. Maybe emotions became a part of it. Oh, okay. All right. They're very taxing on us. Emotions are true. They're probably the most stressful part of our existence as humans. How we internalize the emotions and then how we apply them to what it is that we are doing, whether it be good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent. Because the emotional toll that resonates long after all of the materialistic, all of the environmental, all of the personal change happens and takes place. Recognizing where you have planted the seeds. We talked about the garden earlier in this year. We talked about how you need to tend to it. You need to have fertile soil. You need to actually make a conscious effort to get rid of those little suckers, to get rid of things that might be choking your roots. What needs a little more care and attention? What did I give too much care and attention to? And it's overgrown. It's gone out of control. I can't handle this now, because that happens as well. But you're recognizing the things that are beginning to sprout, the things that are starting to grow, the things where you have positive momentum, and also maybe you picked up some bad habits. Maybe you paid, too many late nights. Maybe your bank account was like, I should have taken that weekend off. But you've paid your personal tax. You've paid through that experience. You've paid through that emotion. You're trying to understand, yes, the component of your financial habits in your personal development, but you draw your laterals from that. You talk about the the habits that you have in your relationships, the habits you have with yourself. Why do I keep paying more in this area when I should be taking more? But in order for me to take more, to get more, to have that credit, I may need to change things. So this idea of a tax day, this checks and balance day, right? It turns into this personal scorecard, right? We're all about sports here. For your maturity, your discipline, your vision, your reputation, your character. And yeah, some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad. You want to be better than 500. If you're not better than 500, you're treading water. You're not growing. Now, I'm not saying you should aspire for 8 out of 10 times, right? I mean, that's even the pros. But in the days that you don't meet the expectations, in the days that you may overcommit, overpay, overcorrect, overly invest your emotions, good or bad, have a little bit of the temperance in that. Know why specifically you have given the personal authorization for those deductions and those credits in your life. Because a lot of times we outgrow deductions, a lot of times we outgrow the credits, but they become comfortable. And then what happens in turn is that they go from being a positive influence and impact in our life to that going through the motion, but it's sucking away from where it is that you want to go. I can't get over that hump. But I'm going to show you why you can't get over that hump. Yeah, but when I'm involved in this and I do this and I talk to that person, we go there, everything is great. It's great for that initial moment. It's great for that 3 hour block, but everything you deal with afterwards because, hmm, so maybe it's time to shift and change that. So my deduction now is not going to be about more social time. It's going to be about more self time. Maybe you need more social time and you need less self time. That's what we're figuring out. But the grace of our 3Gs with DD, how do you handle the pressure? We talked about this before. Like that's like the essence, the flow, how you handle it, how you go through it. Because if we have a tax day and we have red blocks on our calendar, these deadlines that come along with it, they trigger emotions, they bring stress, armchair quarterbacking, they bring regrets. But you're not going to go off the rails. You're going to look at these instances and systematically break down what was going right, what was going wrong, where was overcommitted, where was undercommitted, and you're going to carry yourself through with, okay, I'm already taking the step and holding myself accountable. I can sit here and criticize myself, and I can really beat myself down. And in certain instances, do you need to be a little more critical with yourself and or the people around you by your decisions and actions? Sure, you should. Sure, this is a Murphy button topic, but you don't want to make it so critical that all you hear, like we had conversations a couple months ago, where everything is black or white. If you don't do something, you didn't commit, you didn't finish, it didn't come to fruition, you're a failure. No, no, no. You're you're maturing and you're growing and you're ascending forward in this process. And the fact that you're stopping is highlighting this maturity. It's not saying you're greater than anyone else or better than anyone else. It's just that you recognize, hold on, I gotta take a tax day here. I've got to do some quick inventory. And sometimes it comes on the spur of the moment. Something happens, a switch flips, relationship dynamic, environment dynamic. You're like, wait a minute, I've been doing this completely wrong, or I've been doing everything completely right, and I'm going nowhere. I'm not getting that return on my investment. So you're not beating yourself up for what you did, and you're not beating yourself up for things that you didn't know or you couldn't predict. You're giving yourself this volley of I'm going to improve, I'm going to educate, I'm going to expand my talents, I'm going to learn more about myself, and you bounce this back and forth with this idea of okay, well, I'm moving forward. I'm not standing here 2 fat feet on the ground, not going anywhere, not going anywhere. I've got room to improve. I'm giving myself patience. I'm giving myself a moment to say, this was my past and this is how I did that. Because everyone's always, well, when did you turn it around? When did you figure it out? You figured it out the moment you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore because of X, Y, and Z. And then it just happens. There's something that builds to a certain moment and then it just happens. I'm not going to invest in this anymore. I'm not going to keep giving myself to this because what it yields isn't good for me. And this is anything. Switch some things up, right? Handling your obligations, handling what comes along in calm, constructive manner. Sometimes your constructive manner and your calm manner looks like chaos to other people because you are doing the one thing that they are unwilling to do, and that is to make a decision for yourself. Is there a trickle effect in those instances? Oh, yeah. There's a huge trickle effect, especially when individuals are relying on you. And you can find out real quickly what individuals think of you, how they rely on you, and how you are included in their life, right? And we've always said that you are either the whole idea of like, are you an asset? Are you a commodity? Or are you a tool? Those are basically like where you could be. Like someone's going to lean on you. Someone's going to expect something from you. Someone's going to ask you to do something for them. So like, where do you fall on that matrix of relationship, right? You want things to be understood and copacetic and even and balanced, but you walk into any relationship dynamic, think about your job. You definitely have a set role. You may be able to speak up every now and then, present your opinion, but if you're not writing the check, you're an asset. Now, contractually, okay, that's fine. You're paying your bills, means to an end. But in your relationships, we give a lot of our personal currency to situations that may, on the surface, appear to be very genuine, very justified, very uh, noble. And a lot of people make a living like that. And a lot of people, they get their satisfaction, they get their kicks, thrown in the old music to say. But other individuals, if you're finding yourself in that spot, if you're finding yourself in their spots, you're like, okay, something has to be amended, right? Because we can amend our tax returns as well. Maybe we need to go back and say, I think I need to go back and invest more over here where I thought I could take away. So calm instead of chaos. Chaos viewed from the outside because decisions aren't being made by other individuals. You're taking back that control, right? Your grace is that quiet voice that's saying to you, you're leveling up. You are. You're going here. You're learning. You're handling your business. But in that process, you are not going to give over your peace. And why aren't you going to give over your peace? Because you're going to look at your tax return and you're going to say, when I'm feeling stressed, when I feel overwhelmed, this is a positive way for me to respond to it. I enjoy doing this. I recover doing this. I give energy to, I take energy from. And you start itemizing those things in your life, you very quickly come down to what is good for you and what isn't good for you. Now, again, remove the emotional component of it, which is the toughest part, which is why we threw that in at the beginning. That guides so many of our decisions. And listen, I'm all about hopeless romantic and heart and following blah, blah, blah. But the toughest decisions that you will make will be something tied to a close personal emotional connection to whatever it is, because it's not red and black, it's not black and white. Why do people stay invested in something and you can watch the stock market like, man, this is crashing, now you get out now, like stop throwing good money after bad, good money after bad. But there's something that holds them there. This is one of those days where you're like, okay, is the potential return on this investment, is what I'm giving, what I'm getting, worth X, Y, and Z? Is everyone on the same page with willing to make decisions to make this better? Right? You take this moment, you connect your composure, your emotional maturity, your faith, your belief, and you're like, I'm going to toe this line. and I'm not going to go off the rails. I'm going to make sure things stay as much as they can on track. And if I need to switch, I need to get off of this train station, get on the next train, then I'm going to take all of my tools, all of my resources, everything I've learned, everything that I've grown, everything that I've matured, the bad, I'm going to move it with me. And I'm going to leave those decisions and those habits behind. And I'm going to work with where I'm at now in this particular place. So you're asking yourself then, well, Dunk, like, okay, well, what in God's name then, what did you contribute? And that's your giving back. Like your giving back is taxes in general, right? The whole idea is that they fund the world around us, cities, communities, towns, blah blah, et cetera, right? They pay for sometimes the most essential services. So when you are contributing, your understanding should be that you're giving back to that which you want to sustain yourself with or sustain someone else, some other organization with, right? It's being aware of the fact that there's a bigger role. There's something bigger going on, and I'm a part of it. And even though we talk about all the theories in the world, but butterfly effect and stuff like that, but a lot of this holds true. How you impact, how you engage, how you meet with someone. That's the pebble in the pond, and those ripples going out. They're going out. They're going out. So if I'm trying to make my way, but everything that I'm doing is counterintuitive to that process, then the world around me is going to reflect that. And if I'm already in a situation like that, then all I'm doing is I'm amplifying that environment. I'm amplifying that situation. So how are you investing in people, places, things, organizations, yourself? Not just the system, not just the day to day, not just the, I gotta show up and do this and go there and da. Like we get that. But when all of that is done and stripped away and the bills are paid, have you made good, whole, and viable investments? It's not it's seeing what you are doing with your time, with your availability, with your emotions as this form of generosity. It's your personal charity. And that's a lifestyle. How much do I want to give? How much do I expect back? Am I investing and giving to something that is not only beneficial for me, but it's going to be beneficial in a little more time as well, right? It's not just checking the box. Well, I showed up, did my part, just said hi to the family, made the phone call, punched my ticket today for work, boom. Now, granted, is there going to be days you mail it in, go through the motions? Sure. But when you mail things in and you go through the motions, the task that is being asked of you in those instances is being accomplished. Listen, and this is going to be very, very general here, but like if you have a stack of files and papers, orders, calls, whatever on your desk, your conversion rate, your actual quantifiable analytical productivity data may reflect that you were having a bad day today. But if all you have to do is get through those phone calls, get through those files, build that little deck, build, a fence, dig a ditch, your mental capacity and how you're going through it and your emotions and everything you've just like, this is gonna be really, really cool here. Like, they don't care how it gets done. They want it done a certain way, but your emotional toll and tax that you're paying going through, it could be, hey, I'm coming in, I have a lot of work there. I'm not going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to stay calm. Got to go through this, and I'm just going to keep my nose. Da, 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 da. I'm going to take my breaks when I need to take my breaks. I'm going to be efficient. I'm going to, respond, politely and constructively when things are asked of me. Da 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 da. instead of, you know, shot the Miley. Like you're coming in like a wrecking ball, everything is horrible. And the problem is we do this in our life, in our relationships, in our own personal growth. And it's like, why did you waste all that time and energy? That was not a good bit of investment on your tax. That was a really bad deduction. Why? Because I deducted it from my piece. And now I've given back this example that, like, wow, when it really gets crazy, this guy, this girl, this he, this she, this them, they, like, I don't want to be in that presence. And now I'm starting to think, like, well, maybe I need to address some other things. Like we're constantly reflecting, we're constantly giving back. So when we do invest, we're not just investing in the order and procedure and the system, right? We're investing in people, the greatest thing. And I will, die on this hill that the secret to everything that we have is relationships, not about the money, not about assets, not about where you live and the car you drive. Like all that is great. That's icing and sprinkles and jimmies and whatever on the cake. But your relationships, that's going to carry you through. You can have all that. And someone's like, nope, nope, sorry, move along. And that speaks to you as an individual. And whether we want to hear it or not, it's our personal responsibility to make ourselves the best version of ourselves. 90% of our problems are the fact that we are so overly critical of what we see around us, what we have going on, that it actually incapacitates us. And you go through this cycle of maybe one or two times you have like these little bright moments, but then everything else just comes right back. Why? Well, that's just how it's going to be. And you convince yourself that that's what it's. I have to keep investing in this. I mean, so what else do I have? Oh, that's the best partner for me. Wow, this is. I really couldn't. I want to exercise, but really, so you buy all the health stuff, you get the gym membership, and then you're like, still haven't gone. Oh, well, is that a good investment? Is that a good deduction for you? Are you setting yourself up for failure? Right? What are you giving back to yourself? Like this is a time where it's okay to be selfish, right? But when we look about giving back, we always overlook and neglect the fact that, what we do is we're giving back to ourselves. So giving back just isn't about what's taken. It's about what we choose to give. Our time, our emotions, our heart, our service. That's the real return on the investment. It perfectly ties into this idea that we, yeah, man, it's perfectly ties into the idea that you are your own asset. You are your own caretaker. You are the CEO of your life. We've heard this before. We've seen it in books. We've heard it in the TED Talks, right? You're the CEO of your life. There was a great video that came across. I don't know, it was Reels or Graham or whatnot. And, I asked an older gentleman in the UK, and he was like, give me your secret of how done this and kept your cool, and how you've matured and how you've grown. And he basically said, remember, you're in charge of your life. You're the CEO. You're the boss of your life. Who you give your time to, who you give your attention to, who you allocate your resources to, where you go in order to refine, hone your own skills, resources, and assets. You're in charge of that. And people will be like, well, Don, well, the situations and environment. That's true. We're not going to say that there's not a component of that, but in the midst of that chaos, you remaining calm instead of seeking out an investment when paying into something that's not going to yield what you really need, where you really want to go. That decision's on you. Well, I like doing this. Okay, that's good that you like doing this. Well, if you continue to like doing X, Y, and Z, you're still going to yield this result over here. But if I stop doing that, then what else is going to happen? You're not going to know. You're not going to find out until you take that next step. So when we put all this in a nice little package, growth, grace, giving back, tax day we have for ourselves. Sometimes we check in more than once on the air, but dedicating 1 or 2 days specifically to do this, because we have little checks and balances as we go. We do a weekly ledger. How'd your week go? It was okay. It was all right. Spend a lot of money? It's all right. How about people? It was okay. What'd you do? Not too much. You want to go? Maybe. Okay. Yeah. Happy? Oh, fine. Next week. How's it going now? Well, it's okay. Well, okay. Oh, next. Okay. Now we've glossed over all the real things, and it's like, all right, now I need to sit down and I need to handle my business. People saying, oh, I'm always grinding, I'm always handling, I'm always. Come on. All right. I hope you are. But you're going to handle your business. You're going to honor and bless those areas in your life that enrich you. You're going to remove or attempt to remove or attempt to augment the areas in your life that aren't serving a good purpose and are a bad deduction. And in that instance, you are giving back to yourself and the other people, places, things, organizations, faith, a better version of who you are and what you want to be. And that's where our personal responsibility really holds the key to this. And we dodge the bullets sometimes, we dance around. I'm like, well, I just need to do a little bit more. If that shoe would drop over there, if this video would go viral, if someone would give me 2 seconds. But it is your personal responsibility to get started, to get going, to put the wheels in motion, right? It's that performative aspect of the growth, grace, and the giving back, right? Without it, without holding yourself to these standards, when you're doing this tax form, when you're doing this inventory, you need something to hold it up against, right? You can't holding yourself accountable to nothing, no responsibility, will put you in a position where you will expect growth, but it's going to stall out. Your grace, instead of being the calm in the storm, instead of being the voice in the room that people turn to for direction or leadership or information, that calmness then gets misused, right? You start to manipulate things, people, circumstances, positions. And the giving back, like we said, it becomes that performative task. Tasks get done. I'll do it. I'll sing the song. I'll do the dance. Here we go. But you're not checking it and holding it up against anything. So when you wrap all of that up and you throw in the fact that it's your personal responsibility about owning your choices, getting rid of the excuses, showing up when things are scheduled, investing in what gets mattered, coming through when stuff goes sideways, being accountable not only to yourself and other people, but your own personal energy, your habits, and the impact that you're having on yourself and others around you. Right? This is the part of the tax day after you fill out everything and you run through the matrix and then you flip on to, the appendix and it's like, okay, well now let's see what they really did here. Did they meet the standard? Did you meet the prerequisites and requirements? Are you actually holding then? Are you actually going to follow through? Or are you just going to fill it out and mail it in? Choosing to be present, attentive, giving drama walking papers. taking control of what you can, releasing what you can't. But you have to have the standard. It's not punishment. It's not, oh, you can't do that anymore. Or, oh, I can't be friends with you anymore. Or something bad is being taken away from me and I'm spoiled. No, it's your power. Your personal responsibility is your power that you're taking back possession and control of those things in your life that grow, exude, and show your grace and give back to yourself, those around us. So, as we wrap up on tax day, personal responsibility, doing the right things, doing the reps, keeping the promises that we made, showing up, not blaming circumstances for lack of progress. Can't do that. Growth is a choice, man. We make it every single day. Some days are good, some days are bad, some days, we know the Gennaro Gattuso quote. Grace, you're owning your mistakes without letting them own you. Yep, did this. Not happy about it. What can I do to change that? I'm acknowledging and acknowledging my flaws, but I'm not going to let those flaws define me. But I'll say this, if you keep going down those roads, no matter what it is, you won't have to worry about your flaws defining you because those actions and the repercussions and the consequences, they'll do it for you. That's our lovely third party that's always there. It's not a free pass, right? Don't confuse it with a free pass. Don't confuse it with a well, if I acknowledge it and it's okay, and I need to change that, and I need to know. No, it's the courage to acknowledge it. You're not going to collapse under it. It's admitting when you fell short, personal responsibility, learning instead of hiding from something, because we hide a lot of things from ourselves. We all have a face we hide away, right? Billy Joel, The Stranger, and to face it sometimes really sucks, but that's part of our own personal tax day accountability. We have to be able to say, I forgive myself. I forgive these actions. I will address and handle the consequences and the fallout because that's what personal responsibility mature individuals do. And when I file my tax return next year, when I have another instance where I can make that decision, I've learned that, well, there's a penalty for that. It doesn't erase responsibility. It doesn't erase accountability. The grace and the honesty in our personal tax return in life strengthens it because it fortifies and locks in and galvanizes what you're trying to be and what you're all about. Finally, with personal responsibility in relation to our own personal tax return and the tax return that we include with other individuals, you're responsible for the way that you show up in the world. Let me say that again, right? You're responsible for the way that you show up in the world. If you show up discombobulated, disheveled, out of whack, not prepared, the world will treat you as such. This doesn't mean you're going to have an off day. You're going to have an off day. But constantly having an off day, constantly having that kind of pattern, constantly having that kind of reflection, well, guess what? That's kind of defining who you are and what you're about. Personal responsibility, giving back because you're being very intentional with your influence. I'm going to be better and a better version of myself because I want to champion and support this. I want to be the best version of myself for that relationship. I want to be the best version of myself for me. Be damned about the recognition elsewhere. You're being consistent with your service to yourself, service to others, not selfish. Like, I hate when people are like, well, it's all about yourself and being the best version of yourself, and you're so selfish. Da, If you are narcissistic, selfish, self-absorbed, you're going to reflect that. But having a healthy understanding and relationship with yourself, knowing what you need, knowing your boundaries, knowing where you need to grow. That is personal responsibility. Because when you don't have those things, when they're not clear, and sometimes people need help finding them and people need direction. That's why we have mentors. That's why we have really good relationships. That's why we have meditation and faith. That's why we have journaling. That's why we have these little rules on the back of the tax form that say this ripple that you're creating, right? You're being consistent with it. And when you can't get there, you have hopefully put yourself in a position to where what's around you can help you through. But giving back to ourselves and having those personal goals and those achievements and having those opportunities where you can really, really affect change. When you've invested in yourself, when you've really handled your business, I mean, really handled your business, and you look around and you say, you know what I've built, the support team around me, my network of friends, the decisions that I'm making, it, the way that it resonates is above and beyond just opening up a checkbook and handing out a donation or, giving somebody, an extra sandwich or soft pretzel. It doesn't mean that you're not being charitable, but, when you put all of these things together, it hits different. It hits different. So, tax day wrap up. Let's just use this as our guiding manifest. Did we manage the things that we were given? Good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent? How was the reactions? Right? And remember, this is a two-way street, two sides of a coin. Did we have ourselves prepared enough to meet these personal responsibilities? Did we stay true to ourselves, true to our priority practice principles? Did we stay disciplined? Or did we react more times than not or engage in a more chaotic response? Did we, and then we've said this before, did we avoid people, place, things, instances, conversations, or were they addressed? Because what happens is that when you don't properly manage what you were given, when you don't prepare yourself for the next occurrence, instance, interaction, when you don't stay disciplined and you act haphazardly and you run ramshot and you're not disciplined and you don't address the elephant in the room, nothing's changed and nothing has gone anywhere. It's just compounded for another year, another month, another week. Set the priorities, set the standards, have the personal responsibility. Taxes and tax day are the world's way of showing us that accountability to yourself, to others, to your actions, to your inactions, guide and 100% influence what comes next. Personal responsibility, personal accountability. We've had so much in today's modern world where we do not want to say, yep, that's me. I own that. Well, I own the good stuff, but maybe in the areas where I haven't really come through, that wasn't me. It's because the environment, situation, because of this, I get people holding me down. No. No, accountability, man. And you can then use your position to hold other people unaccountable And if you're in a real, mature relationship, if you're in a real, mature organization, government, whatever, you are not afraid to hold people accountable because they'll do it to you. Tax day, personal responsibility, accountability, personal responsibility. I guess let me just, I'm going to wrap up with this today. And I feel like this is important, and pardon my little puns and whatnot. But, and I guess so personal responsibility is our grown up superpower, right? Just it flat out is. But why? Because it's that moment, and the moment can happen in an instant. You can have those conversions where you stop pointing fingers and you start planting the seeds. You start holding yourself accountable. You start really dialing in on your habits and your disciplines. You cut away things that aren't supposed to be there. It's not about being perfect because the world isn't perfect. You may have examples of perfection in nature and art, etc., but it's about the ownership of your actions and movements. Growth needs personal responsibility. Grace, grace requires it. If you're not personally responsible for yourself, the grace that you have will be, oh, goodness gracious, it'll be chaos grace. And giving back demands it. So if I need it to grow, right? If it's required for me to keep my cool and my composure and make whole, right, accurate, just decisions, and it's demanded of me when I interact and give back to myself, then if tax day, this idea of tax day, if it teaches us anything, is that you can't control everything. You can't, but you can control how you show up. You can control what you invest in. You can control what deductions you're taking. You can control the investments that you're making. And hopefully, you're moving forward because you're showing up. You're showing up for yourself. You're showing up for your responsibilities. You're showing up for your commitments. That is our tax day show. Thank you everybody for hanging in there, joining the program today. It was nice talking to you. We do have some breaking news for next week. We will be actually en route to the great city of steel, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Follow us along X, Instagram, SR129game.com, Coast Sports Digital Network. Myself at the Dunkin' Dad on X, on Instagram. We'll be in Pittsburgh for the NFL draft. We will hopefully tap into a few more of the community events that are going on, highlight some of the areas in which individuals are showing up and taking personal responsibility and giving back to their community through service, through training, through sport. I've always said this, people look at these events and they see the crown jewel. They see kickoff at the Super Bowl. They see, do, 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 and, the first pick is in. But everything leading up to and everything that falls afterwards from the events that the NFL hosts, which is far and beyond the best out of all the major organizations. There's so much impact within the community, within their surrounding areas, and this goes on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. And this is just a really good opportunity to draw attention to the progress that's being made on a really big stage because the world is kind of dialed in. So we'll give some reports out there at the draft. Looks like Mendoza is going to go one. I hope, he shows up. I know he has some issues with travel, personally, with his mom, stuff like that. But it'd just be great. I think he's a great man for the moment. And we'll see how it all plays out. So thank you guys for joining me. I'll talk to you guys next week and enjoy your afternoon.